The sun had barely risen over the quiet town of Streamsville when Pastor Jerry Eze received an unexpected notification on his phone. It was a message, an official one. The seal of the United States adorned the header, and the sender's name made his heart race, Donald J. Trump. It wasn't a dream, nor a mistake. It was real. The memories came flooding back, vivid and fresh as though they had happened just yesterday. A few months earlier, Pastor Jerry had flown into New York for a private prayer session and to meet a group of Nigerian Christians living in the US. His visit was largely low profile, until something remarkable happened at JFK Airport. As he stepped off the plane and walked through the VIP wing, a man in a dark suit, followed by a team of Secret Service agents, approached him. It was President Donald Trump. Pastor Jerry Eze. Trump called out in his familiar voice, his expression lighting up. Pastor Jerry was momentarily stunned. "Sir," he replied, extending his hand. "I watch your NSPPD prayers. My staff showed me. You're the most watched preacher on social media, and trust me, I know numbers," Trump said, half grinning. "Those prayers shake the airwaves." The two men talked briefly, surrounded by curious onlookers. Trump spoke about how the fervency and passion of Pastor Jerry's prayers had struck him. "You pray like you're rearranging heaven," he joked, eliciting laughter from everyone nearby. Pastor Jerry smiled humbly, offering all glory to God. They parted ways with a handshake and a mutual nod of respect. Now, weeks later, that airport meeting had blossomed into a full-blown gesture of admiration from a president. The message began formally but quickly turned heartfelt. From the desk of Donald J. Trump, 45th and 47th President of the United States of America. "Dear Pastor Jerry Eze, it was a tremendous honor meeting you at the JFK International Airport several weeks ago. That encounter left a deep impression on me. I've met many world leaders, celebrities, and preachers, but your presence stood out, not because of grandeur, but because of the grace and power you carry. Since then, I've taken time to follow your ministry. I must say, your platform, NSPPD, is unlike anything I've seen. Millions gather to pray every morning. It's not just a show, it's a movement. A spiritual revival. Your energy, your passion, and your declarations remind us that faith still moves mountains. I've heard testimonies from people who have experienced healings, breakthroughs, and miracles simply by tuning into your broadcast. That, sir, is divine power at work. You are indeed the most watched preacher on social media, and it's not hard to see why. America needs voices like yours. We need people who call upon God without fear, who remind us that truth, faith, and family still matter. Your consistency, humility, and boldness have become a light not just for Nigerians, but for believers all over the world." Pastor Jerry sat quietly as he read the message in his study, his hand pressed to his chest. His wife, Pastor Eno Eze, stood beside him, tears welling in her eyes. "There's more," she whispered, as he scrolled down. "Please extend my warmest regards to your wonderful and lovely wife, Pastor Eno Eze. Behind every great man is an even greater woman. Her calm strength, grace, and leadership are evident. Together, you are a power couple for the kingdom. I sincerely hope we can bring the NSPPD fire to the United States soon. My team and I are already discussing possibilities with your coordinators. A national prayer conference, hosted by you, would be a blessing to our people. I believe we are in a time where prayer is no longer optional, it's critical. Nigeria is blessed to have you, Pastor Jerry. And so is the world. You are more than a preacher, you are a voice for a generation that refuses to bow to hopelessness. You make faith contagious. May God continue to bless you, your family, and your ministry. With highest regards, Donald J. Trump." The room fell silent for several minutes after Pastor Jerry finished reading. His phone buzzed again, messages began pouring in from associates, spiritual sons and daughters, and even global faith leaders who had seen the message. Somehow, it had already found its way to the press. One message read, "Pastor, heaven is echoing your name on earth. You're a general." Another said, "This is not just favor. This is divine visibility. God is amplifying your voice for nations." Pastor Jerry looked at his wife, then bowed his head. "It's all God," he said softly. "I'm just a vessel." The journey that led to this moment wasn't a simple one. He remembered the humble beginnings, preaching under rain in school halls, waking up at 3 a.m. to pray alone, being ridiculed for choosing ministry over comfort. There were days he wanted to give up, when the weight of expectations crushed his spirit. But God had always whispered, "Keep going." Eno Eze touched his arm. "God is faithful." "Yes, he is," he replied, eyes moist. He stood up and walked to his prayer altar. The altar had become the foundation of his life. It was here that NSPPD was birthed. It was here that declarations like "what God cannot do does not exist" had come to him. And it was here, again, that he knelt, this time, not to ask for something, but to give thanks. Lord, he prayed, let this honor never get into my head. Let your name alone be lifted. Let more souls be saved. Let revival never stop. As he prayed, a peace like a river flooded his spirit. He knew something greater was coming. The invitation to host a national NSPPD conference in the United States wasn't just political recognition, it was prophetic alignment. God was opening doors. Nations were calling. In the weeks that followed, arrangements began in earnest. The American team proposed the NSPPD conference to hold in Washington, D.C., at a massive arena that could hold over 20,000 attendees. Churches across the country pledged support. Media outlets wanted interviews. Suddenly, the fire that began from a small corner of Nigeria was being summoned to the global stage. Still, Pastor Jerry remained grounded. One afternoon, during a planning meeting, he turned to his team and said, "We are not going to the US to perform. We are going to make altars. We are going to remind them of the God that answers by fire." The announcement was finally made online, and the internet exploded. NSPPD comes to America. Pastor Jerry is to lead National Prayer Crusade in DC. Millions expected to attend. From every corner of the earth, people registered. Africans, Americans, Asians, Europeans, hungry for revival, eager for God. It was more than an event. It was a divine agenda. Back in Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu reportedly congratulated Pastor Jerry, calling him a spiritual ambassador of Africa. The Nigerian government hinted at providing support and security for the mission, recognizing the global impact of NSPPD. And amid the buzz, Pastor Jerry stayed the same, up early for prayer, fasting for days, seeking God's face. Because for him, it was never about the fame. It was about the fire. The day of the conference eventually came. The arena was packed beyond capacity. President Donald Trump himself made a surprise appearance, briefly taking the stage to greet the crowd. "I told you this man was special," Trump said, pointing to Pastor Jerry. "He's not just a preacher. He's a force of heaven." The crowd roared. Pastor Jerry stepped up. His voice, steady and strong, echoed, "Lift your hands and shout, what God cannot do." The audience thundered, "Does not exist." And in that moment, heaven kissed the earth.